Dick Huey. I'm the head of partnerships. I might be a little less animated than the last presentation. Sorry. So I'm head of partnerships for a company called Jaxta. Jaxta is building an official music credits platform. So if any of you have whinged about the fact that there is an IMDb for film, but there is no IMDb for music, that's what Jaxta is. We've been working on this for 6 years. I've been working on it for about 3. So a couple things about this. In comparison to what's already out in the marketplace, so there's already a Discogs, there's already a MusicBrainz, there's already a Wikipedia, but there isn't an official source of music data. So all of the information that's in our platform has been acquired through data acquisition agreements with, at this point, the 3 majors, all of whom are signed up, also PROs, also publishers, we hope very soon, Merlin, and all of that data is then deduplicated and matched and put together into a complete picture of the music industry. And you can put in the name of a band, you can put in the name of a record, you can put in the name really of anything that would appear in a liner note, and that'll show up on our platform. Business model behind it, there are really several of them. B2C model is the one that you're looking at here, and this will launch next month. Very exciting. We have a pro version of it, which is similar to IMDb Pro. So for music industry professionals, and then we have a B2B version of it. So there's a picture. We have a B2B version of it. That's our API. And where we take the data that we have aggregated, we license that to DSPs for them to use in enhancing their interfaces, enhancing their playlist creation functionality, for audio search. Many of the things that Alex White was talking about earlier require data. We're the data company, or one of the data companies. So without further ado, let me show you what we have. This is our beta, so we don't have all the data in this one yet, but we have a lot. Let's see, just do it this way. So up here, not that far up here, I can type in the name of anything. Earlier I was searching for Epitaph. I can also explore the database. So these are some of the criteria I can search under. And I'm going to go into artists. Sorry, this is a little hard to do. There we go. And here we have the presentation of data. So I can search by a large number of different criteria. I can pick a particular artist, and I will pick a particular artist. I'll pick David Bowie. Let's see who doesn't like David Bowie. So this is a presentation of David Bowie's catalog. I can sort it by a couple of different criteria. I can also look at his newest records, his oldest records, or his most popular. In our vernacular, most popular means the largest number of credits. So from here, I can also look at, because we're importing all this data and keeping them all as individual fields, I can look at collaborators. So these are all individuals who have collaborated in one capacity or another with David Bowie. And before somebody says Elvis Presley worked with David Bowie, it could also be compilations that they're listed on. So there's, we're going to launch this. We know there's going to be some question marks applied to some of the relationships, and that's just some of the work that we have to do to get the presentation where we want it to be. News, so we're scanning real music news related to this artist. Not salacious music news, and finally awards. So we have a relationship in place with RAAA for Gold and Platinum, and also Grammys for the 61-year history of Grammys. So I'm going to go back now to catalog, and we'll grab this record. And this is where it really gets fun, if you're into this kind of thing. And who isn't? If you're into independent music, this is sort of the lifeblood of independent music. And so we present all the information. We don't, there's a couple things that Jaxta is not. Jaxta is not a rights payment engine of some kind. So we don't track any data about splits or any other information that would be used to enable payment. That's a huge pool, and that's not the one that we're looking to get into. We're just focused on the data itself. We're also not licensing music. We're using affiliate links, so if you wanted to play something like this track, you'd have a choice of, at the moment, 2 services. And then you have all the data presented. So you can click on any of these links and drill further into the catalog. So for any music obsessive, this is a ton of fun. And our thinking is that most of the people that will be using this are going to be music obsessives. They're going to be using the actual web platform. The B2B API, that's something that can apply to pretty much everyone, but here we think this will be for people who actually care to dig down into data and explore relationships of bands, probably everybody in this room. And once I drill down to the track level, I have even further information. So we license lyrics from Lyric Find. And the last piece I have to show you, I could show you hundreds of, well, maybe I'll show you one other thing. So if, for instance, I was to put in, let's say we merge.
It's not on my screen, so I don't actually see it on my screen. Alright, so let's try this.
So this is a fun way to look at catalogs. And then obviously you can go through it the same way you can everything else. And finally, the Jaxta Pro piece that I mentioned. So this is something that we have 3 milestones for this year. We're going to launch the product in May. We're launching Jaxta Pro in June or July, and then the API launches towards the end of the year. This product, let's get the images and go right to the good stuff. This is the information that we're adding. So we're presenting the entire provenance, the entire publishing provenance for individual works. We'll have market insights, a really nice app for integrating calendar events all around the world, everything from meetups to award ceremonies, whatever, festivals. More information, and a really cool music chart things that I also want to talk about because it's so cool. Where you'll be able to put in an artist name and get chart information related to it. That's all I'm going to say about it right now. But that's the product. So, very quick presentation. There you go.
Any questions?
Any questions?
It's right there.
Pop and rock metadata is child's play. Do you have any story with classical metadata, which is a total shit show?
Great question. Great question. Great question. So, so attached to my job title is the job title of trying to find not only pop and rock metadata, but also classical metadata, and eventually a different character set metadata. So the answer is there's lots of intent, and there's lots of challenges too, to be frank. There are a variety of different companies who have done pretty great work on the class, good enough work, but that have done some level of comprehensive work, and we need them in this platform. We need everybody in this platform. They're not there yet, so we're working on it. Who's next? Back here.
2 questions. Mike, you've been working on this for 6 years. So how do you source the historical data? It sounds like you guys have partnerships to get the data down. And 2, what is the B2B, like, who's the target of the B2B API?
The BB8. Okay, so the first question is where do we get the historical data from? So we're getting a great deal of the data that's in this. Well, really all of it actually comes directly from from labels, so or from publishers. So like many things you'll find, if you actually start looking in metadata, you'll find that there's sort of pre-iTunes and post-iTunes. Pre-iTunes data, if it's a well-known band in pop and rock, then there's pretty good metadata information related to it. If there's not, then it's a challenge. So this is another thing. I'm glad you brought this question up, because our theory has been, so anybody who's worked at a record label in here, I know there's a good handful of people. Anybody that's worked at a record label knows that all this information is at a record label. It's just a challenge of getting it into a DDEX feed, or if it doesn't fit in a DDEX feed, assembling it somewhere. It's literally scattered all over the record label. And we've created, as part of our BDB API, and this gets into my second question, or your second question. So there are a couple of big companies that are that sell data now. Our business model for selling data is different. We share the revenue back with that we get from licensing the data with the creator of the data, so or the entity that gives us the data. So that incentivizes all that locked up information inside, for instance, a record label, or potentially a publisher, but more likely a record label, to be unlocked, because it can be monetized and there's a share for the entity doing it. We think that's a groundbreaking model.
That's a really interesting model. So who's the diversity targets for maybe?
I mean, maybe at the first level of diversity is any DSP. Second level of diversity, and that would include, in particular, any DSP with any voice-activated strategy. Second level is probably car companies, any entity that's trying to determine maybe a piece of music that 2 or more people in a car can agree to, maybe by looking at history. So really the thing about data, you can't have too much data when you're trying to interpret or figure out what somebody wants to listen to. The more you have, the better off you do. And the music industry has a long way to go to get this information to the level where it needs to be. This is probably a product that should have been around the music industry 20 years ago. We built it now, and we're about to launch it. So we're starting. Go.
Do you have it in mind to create a metadata model that goes deeper into credits, like guitarist, bassist, producer, arranger, finger symbol player?
Yes. So really, whatever we're sent will filter into the product.
Yeah, but you need to standardize all that, which is a hard problem.
So that's part of the challenge. The delivery process at the moment for a lot of this information is DDEX on the label side of the way.
It seems to me that you could do with a deep metadata model, kind of what Music Genome Project did for what they originally had, and unlike those guys, you could open it up.
There's we have so many ideas that we want to put in place around this.
Yeah.
The most important thing is getting this launched. I mean, it really is. 6 years probably sounds like a long time, and it is a long time. It's been tough pushing this baby out, but now that we have it out, and I think once we get pro launch, we've got all kinds of ideas for exciting things we're going to do, and certainly more data is very much part of it.
Hi. As the head of music partnerships for a major DSP, I'm certainly approached by a lot of competitors to your service
Yep.
that provide data on music. I've seen some of the B2B model here, but in a few words, what gives you an edge today? What gives your service and data an edge over your competitors? Why would a DSP want to choose you instead of some of the incumbents today?
Perfect question. Thank you very much for it. So I think probably the first thing is because we're staying away from music rights, we're deduplicating and assembling data both from the sound recording side of the industry and also from the songwriter side of the industry. So that's something that anybody who's worked in music for a long time knows doesn't really happen. But certainly not if there's anything rights related attached to it. Or at least it's quite a challenge. So that we feel like that out of the box gives us something different. Obviously, it'll be down to our level of deduplication, the effectiveness of our deduplication. I guess the other thing that'll impact our what we end up having is that because we're taking information directly from the source versus trying to mix it or interpolate it or pull some of it from the internet and mix it in that way, we know we're going to have the most accurate information possible. And there are all kinds of applications that require that level of specificity. Everything doesn't, but there's a lot that does, and that can benefit from it. And as we build out this product, we're finding new ideas weekly, daily, for people who look at the product and say, you know, could you use it this way, or could I use it to determine this and this? So I hope I've answered your question. I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to be how good our secret sauce is, but we have a really big data pool that we're pulling from.
One follow-up question. What's the unique identifier code you use to identify works in your system? Do you guys have your own proprietary identifier code, or are you using audio ISRCs, publisher ISWCs? What's your system?
All of the above, and this particular piece is not my area of specialty, so forgive me if I dodge the question just a little bit. But what I can tell you is we're not cutting any identifier out of the system.
Okay.
So I guess I'd actually ask you to hold your powder on that question until you actually see it launch, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with what you see.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks very much.